What is going on, y'all? It is the Caveman going live here right after the Thursday night game between the Bills and the Patriots. It ended a little bit earlier than I kind of thought it was going to, so I had to get things put together, a little bit prematurely. So that's why it's a little bit after the fact. But here we are. We come out with a 24-10 victory. I'm going to send out the tweet and stuff to get things going before we really roll into things. But a win is a win. It might not have been exciting. It might not have been all fireworks, lights, flashy action, but it still was, the victory that we needed to come out of Foxborough with. So how upset could you really be at the end of the day, regardless of the miscues that we experienced at points? The football team came together, we made plays when we had to, and we won the game. So let me get this tweet out, and then we'll really get underway. But yeah, not a very action-packed game. There were, I think, 24 points or so scored in the first, 16 minutes? Yeah, Kim, nice solid win, exactly. I mean, that's pretty much all you could ask. A very solid win, put together, a couple miscues here and there, but never a doubt really as the time progressed. But this game looked like it was going to start out to be a fireworks show. Like I said, I think there were 24 points scored within the first 16 minutes of the game because we scored our touchdown right at the top of the second quarter, and it was suddenly 17-7 at that point, if I'm not mistaken. And then after that, it just kind of died down. I mean, Stephon Diggs had that touchdown called back on the Tommy Sweeney hold. And, outside of that, there really was nothing crazy that occurred. And I'm okay with that. We played, we micromanaged this game, right? The way we were able to run the ball on the ground and, dominate the time of possession. That was a victory that usually teams have against, would have against us. Dominating time of possession, keeping Josh Allen off the field, taking advantage of a run defense that has not been successful in the past. It's typically what we see from other teams, and that's their game plan. But tonight it was ours, and we kept Mac Jones and the Patriots offense off the field, and they really stood no opportunity. In the second half, we held that ball so long that, once the Patriots got the ball back and they went 3-and-out relatively quick, the game was pretty much over. I mean, they showed no fight in the second half at all. It reminded me of the Packers game, truthfully, the way that the Packers kind of rolled through the third quarter. They didn't have the ball very much, or actually, that's wrong. They did have the ball a lot, but they weren't trying to really fight back into the game. They were just running the ball every down, despite the fact that they were losing by a sizable amount. So it seems like Bill Belichick and Matt LaFleur ripped the same page out of the same book. When they're down, they really aren't too interested in trying to fight back because of the quarterback inefficiencies that they both experienced this season between Mac with Bill and Aaron Rodgers with LaFleur. So Kim says, yeah, Judon didn't get a sack. That is huge. For an offensive line that struggled tonight, it really wasn't Matt Judon that torched us. It was Josh Uche, and he had a good night. I think credit to David Quessenberry, who started out the game pretty rough, and then he ended up getting hurt, and he somehow powered through because we would have had a guy named Justin Murray or Jonathan Murray stepping out there at left tackle, and that would not have been ideal. So I think Quessenberry stuck it out for us. As bad as he may have played at points, he definitely came through, and he stuck it out. He was a body out there that was better than whatever else would have been replacing him. So credit to Quessenberry in that regard. And Mikey says, I don't know if it was just me, but the game seemed kind of boring. Yeah, it was. Like I said, there were 24 points total scored in the first 16 minutes of the game, and then suddenly after that, it was just kind of dead. It really was dead. We were just playing. We were playing a game manager type of game. Josh Allen really wasn't doing much when he dropped back because the pressure was getting in his face. Our pass blocking tonight was pretty much atrocious. Anytime Josh dropped back, he was getting faced with pressure, and he'd have to make some sort of off-platform throw, maybe rolling on the run or something of the sort. But otherwise, the ground game was working. It felt like, watching the Bills run the ball the way we did. If I was the Patriots and, I was a Patriots fan and watching the defense, it's like we had Josh Allen in the passing game for the most part on the ropes, right? Looking at it from a Patriots perspective, we kind of had Josh Allen's arm on the ropes at times. And it was the running game that just gashed them, and they couldn't stop it for some reason. As inefficient as we are running the football, the Bills are, to see the Patriots struggle to stop it was, it would be concerning if I was a Patriots fan, I guess is my point. Mike says a little boring, a little sloppy, but just took care of business. Yep, that's right. I mean, better to have a game that you're not sweating through whatsoever than to have a game like the Lions. That game was not good for my blood pressure. But tonight, it was boring, but I come out with a level head. It's not, 12:15 at night, and I'm sitting here sweating bullets because we have to beat the Detroit Lions by, 3 points. Granted, that was on Thanksgiving, and it nearly ruined all of our holiday, but um, I'll happily take a victory like this, despite how boring it might have been. Yeah, finally a division win is right. We've struggled in the division so far, and we had three prior to this game, back to back to back. So we got the Patriots down. Next week we get the Jets, I assume, with Mike White, and then the following week we get the Dolphins. So this is huge. This is going to be really, really big. These next few games, it could be huge for the division that we're struggling to keep a hold on to. So definitely gotta play tight. Mike says 10 days rest. Wouldn't want to be Mike White and the Jets. Yeah, me either. Mike White and the Jets. We're gonna see what they're really made of this week against the Vikings. They of course get what are they 10-1 Vikings or something along those lines. I still can't believe it. 10-2 or 8-2, 8-2 Vikings, 9-2 Vikings. They get the 9-2 Vikings. Will Mike White be able to slice up that piss poor secondary like he did against the Bears? I guess time will tell. Last year when Mike White stepped in, he threw for 400 plus yards. The following week, he threw 4 interceptions, and that was the end of the legend of Mike White. So this year, the legend of Mike White, that book is reopened. Will history repeat itself? Will we see what was written, previously, or will we see a different storybook ending for Mike White? I guess we'll come to find out. And this week will be very telling as to what we're going to see in the following week when we actually do meet New York. I still haven't sent the stupid tweet out. I really struggle getting the tweet out every single time I do the live. A boring win, but one to take home. Hashtag Bills Mafia. Okay. Going live to talk about the game. Hop in. Hope. I can't type. Hop in. Okay. Yeah, 10 days rest, but that is huge. We kind of have a little bit, not a bye per se, but we had a full week's rest, which we feel like we haven't had in a bit from the Lions game to today. We had a full week's rest, and that's something that I think we desperately needed. Now we get 10 days rest, as Mike stated. This is a team that is banged up, as we've seen. Von Miller was sent to IR today. Deion Dawkins missed this game. I think it was an ankle. And we saw David Questenberry, and we have a number of injuries on both sides of the ball. We'll get to that in a little bit. Which a pregame inactive that I want to talk about. But what do you think of the rumbling of Brady coming back to New England? I saw that. Imagine. I mean, I'm not going to rule out any possibility of whatever the offseason can bring, man. This past offseason proved to me that anything, and I mean anything, can happen. No matter what the player's name is, what organization they've been tied to for who knows how long. This offseason proved to me, and should have proved to everybody else, that it doesn't matter what your name is or who you are. You have a price tag and you could be moved. So, whether you're talking about Russell Wilson or, Deshaun Watson even was moved for that big price tag. Granted, we were kind of expecting that. Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, it doesn't matter how big your name is. Bradley Chubb even, you could get moved. You have a price. And if Tom Brady decides to, obviously be moved, at his own free will, then he very well could. So I'm not going to rule out any possibility. We know he tried to get to the Raiders. I think that was what happened prior to 2020 when he ended up going to the Bucs. He tried to go to the Raiders. That fell through. And then the year after that, he tried to go to the Dolphins. That fell through. He defaulted back to Tampa. So who knows? Maybe he's going to try another escape effort to get out of Tampa, because that roster is in shambles right now. If he comes back to New England, then I don't see why this team couldn't return to, being a contender. You got Tom Brady. If he's still playing football at a high level, like I still think he is, they'll be a tough team to beat. They'll just need to acquire one pass catching weapon that is actually serviceable. Right now, they really haven't surrounded Mac Jones with much assistance at all. So I think I'm a fan of Mac Jones. I'm not gonna lie. I enjoy shitting on his chest tonight, but I do like Mac Jones. Last week, I think he really showed what he was capable of. He sliced and diced that Viking secondary, and I thought tonight he was going to have a pretty solid night as well. But we had him in a body bag, man. The run game couldn't get anything going. He was pretty much just dumping it off to Ramondre Stevenson as much as possible, and the leading receiver was a cornerback. So I think this was more of our defense just putting a poor offensive cast in a straitjacket, and Mac Jones really had nowhere to get rid of the ball. And the Patriots coaching staff coached scared. I mean, they coached like they lost in the halfway through the second quarter into the third. Yeah, the Patriots offense, it's terrible. I mean, as unathletic and awkward as Mac Jones may be, he gave every little bit of effort he had in his body in that game, man. He was running behind the line of scrimmage, not trying to throw the ball away too prematurely, attempting ridiculous throws. He did all he could. You got Devontae Parker. This dude can't get any type of separation on the outside. Kendrick Bourne somehow just disappeared ever since those trade rumors happened with him. He's really been a non-factor. Nelson Aguilar, he's nothing to write home about. Tyquan Thornton, I thought was going to have a bigger impact on that offense. He's been nowhere to be found. It's pretty much Ramondre Stevenson or bust for that Patriots offense. And I don't think Matt Patricia is a great play caller, considering he's a defensive-minded coach and he's the offensive coordinator. What are you expecting? The fact that they're even 6-5 now, 6-6. But the fact that they were even 6-5 prior to this game just speaks to Belichick's pedigree. But at the end of the day, you really can't expect much else. That defense is only going to hold an offense like the Bills to so many points. And, the game went exactly as you probably would expect it to. We just outpaced the Patriots offense. Adrian says, I'm a Niner fan, and this game was all for the Patriots. The Patriots need a better offensive scheme. Yeah, like I said, when your offensive coordinator is a centralized defensive mind, you're probably not going to be well off, especially when you don't have a quarterback, an athletic freak under center that can maybe bail you out. You're probably not going to be well off as a New England Patriot offensive player or even fan for that matter. But a couple of things I want to touch on. We'll rewind all the way back to the pregame. Kaiir Elam was a surprise inactive. We came to find out about an hour prior. We got the notification, of course, the actives and inactives. And Kaiir Elam, our first-round selection, the 24th overall pick in the draft, was a scratch. A little concerning, right? We see a defensive secondary that struggled all season, him included. I think at times he's shown flashes, but earlier in the year he was getting beat out by Benford. And now that Trey White's returning, he's obviously getting relegated in that regard. And then we signed Xavier Rhodes, who somehow tore his hamstring or stretched his hamstring the second he got to the roster. So he really wasn't able to do much to begin with. But now that Xavier Rhodes is healthy, he gets to start next to Trey White on the outside, and Kaiir Elam is scratched. I think the only reason Kaiir Elam gets scratched is because Xavier Rhodes is on this roster. I really haven't been paying attention to what Xavier Rhodes has brought so far, but obviously it's been enough where they feel like, they would prefer the veteran presence over the rookie. And I do think that's a cause of concern. Xavier Rhodes was certainly on the tail end of his career. I would find it hard to imagine that he suddenly picked up where he left off in his prime days and is able to play at a high enough level to be sustainable. But, his name wasn't called tonight. I think there was one instance where I heard Xavier Rhodes' name called, and I think he had the pass. I think it was actually a catch. But regardless, his name wasn't called. And as a cornerback, the best night you can have is a silent one. It's the best night you can have. That means the ball's not going your way. You're playing sticky coverage, and the quarterback's not looking at your guy. The best night you can have as a defensive back is the night where nobody talks about you. And that's kind of been the story of Xavier Rhodes so far in the Bills. And I'm happy with it. If that's what it's going to take, we got some depth on this football team that's actually competent. So be it. If it takes Kaiir, a first round selection being benched, I guess it is what it is in the Super Bowl year. We don't have time to wait around for development, right? So I'm happy that we seem to have found somebody we're comfortable with back there to sit beside Trey White. You can only be happy with it. We'll worry about the Kaiir Elam development track, next year or throughout the offseason. For now, if we find a guy that can serve the role, then I'm not going to stress about it. But Xavier Rhodes, I think, making a presence here is the main reason why we're not seeing Kaiir Elam right now. So something definitely to monitor. Yeah, Matt Patricia pretty much sucks at everything. I saw Rhodes miss one tackle and break up one pass. Yeah, he really did nothing. Genuinely didn't. Well, nothing noticeable, which is a good thing. Sometimes as a corner, you don't want to be noticed. Sometimes you do not want to be the guy that's getting torched or the guy getting targeted or the guy having to make the pass breakup. Sometimes you're better off just being the guy that runs with your receiver all night and the quarterback's not even turning his head your way. That's the best night a corner can have, and it seems like he's been doing well enough. So kudos to him. But yeah, the writing's kind of been on the wall as far as Kyer goes, right? Like I said earlier in the year, he couldn't, he had a hard time beating out Benford. They rotated back and forth, and as great as Benford, is and has been, you'd like to assume that the first round talent's going to come out over the seventh round talent, right? So, and now we're at a point where the secondary's been struggling. We've had cornerback depth issues. We needed somebody to step up, so they go and get a guy off the roads, no pun intended, and he's returning to no roads closed, I guess. So that's that. Another thing I want to touch on, which I'm sure we all watched and were very disgusted by, was the the incomplete call on the Jordan Poyer, interception. That was a catch. I'm getting sick of this. If it wasn't 11:45 at night and people were sleeping in this household, then I would really start to yell at the top of my lungs. But the fact that Jordan Poyer's interception was not called an interception and they called that a drop, they need to figure their shit out. This league needs to get their shit straight. I'm disgusted with the lack of clarity when it comes to a catch. Actually, it's not a lack of clarity. It's just a stupid rule. I get why they call it incomplete. It's just a stupid rule. It makes sense because that's what the rule says, but it doesn't make sense because it lacks common sense, right? We're looking at a guy that maintains the ball. He catches the ball, right? That's the first part. Grabs control of the ball. Second part, gets 2 feet in on the boundary. Sliding out of bounds, when he hits the ground is when the ball gets jarred loose. But the ball never touches the ground. I think to make things as simple as possible, a pass is incomplete when a ball hits the ground. That's when a pass should be incomplete. Just because a guy is on the ground and it's being bobbled slightly, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't hit the ground, it's a catch. I mean, I think that's the easiest way to put it. I don't know how. This happened last week with Hunter Henry. Ironically enough, the Patriots had a makeup call this week with it. Hunter Henry caught that ball. He reached over the goal line and he scored. The second that, as far as I'm concerned, the second a ball breaks the plane, that's a touchdown, plays dead. But no, in Hunter Henry's case, he catches the ball, establishes himself as a ball carrier, reaches his arms over the goal line, breaks the plane with full control, hits the ground. His hand is under the ball. Let me see if I can find it. Hunter Henry. We'll just look up Hunter Henry. I'm sure it'll be the first thing that comes up. But he has the ball, hand right under it, and as he's rolling over, he drops it. Well, not drops it. He bobbles it, and it never touches the ground. And tonight, the ball never touches the ground once again. Jordan Poyer is sliding out of bounds, and it's a catch. I mean, the NFL needs to really make it clear. Yeah, that had to be a catch. Exactly. Adrian says it's an interception. They need to stop relying on refs that seem to continue to make more errors than a normal person watching. I think if they just made it clear and, if they just made the rules, they got to look at the rules and determine, what would make the most sense in this situation. Why do we have to overcomplicate things? They got to do this. If I saw this play happen, what would my common sense call on the field be? I would like to assume that everybody that is a football fan or a football ref or a football player would say that's a catch. Common sense would say that's a catch. But because they have to overcomplicate things and create, a bunch of rules with 3 different steps in it, that's when it gets confusing. A horrible, horrible call. NFL is the worst sport in the world when it comes to revolutionizing things such as ruling and looking at plays. It's just remarkable to me. They'll go out of their way to, go head over heels to determine the exact specifications for a catch, but they still can't, this is a reoccurring conversation, but they still can't figure out how to spot a ball accurately that's, not a 70-year-old man standing on the sideline trying to determine where a tackler was, hit down, touched on the ground, beneath a pile of 300-pound men. It's just the lack of, consistency, I guess, for lack of a better term at the moment. It's amazing. Reviews should be fully examined, like with VAR in soccer. I think the biggest problem is they don't have the airtime to be reviewing as much as they have to review with VAR in football. I think if there was something like that, a lot would be being reviewed and a lot would take a long time. So I think that's why they try to avoid that. That's why they got rid of the original. They made pass interference reviewable, and then they took it away because it just ate up too much time and it was too confusing. So they just stuck with going with the call on the field. So I think that's why they kind of stay away from reviewing as much as possible. But you got to get the call right. Still, you got to get the call right. You can't expect these human beings that are roughing the football game to get every call right. I don't understand. He's out of bounds and the play is over before it's bobbled. Exactly. The second that the football, in the instance of a boundary, such as the goal line or the sideline, the second that Hunter Henry breaks the plane with the ball in his control, that should be the play. Dead, killed, done, touchdown. In this instance with Jordan Poyer, he establishes himself, as the ball carrier, the person with possession of the football, makes the catch, gets 2 feet in bounds, and the second he goes out of bounds and he hits the ground, that should be it. As soon as he hits the deck, before he loses control, that should be it. That should be it. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's not like Jordan Poyer never established control and he was bobbling it as he was falling out of bounds and then he came up with it the way he did. Jordan Poyer had full control, got 3 feet in, I think, and 2 feet at least, slid out of bounds. That should have been it. The second he slid out of bounds and hit the ground, that should have been when Jordan Poyer's play was called dead and it's an interception. But because he lands out of bounds, the ball comes loose out of bounds, out of the field of play, that's a drop. Because the ball was dropped out of bounds, that's a drop. That doesn't make sense, even though it wasn't dropped in the first place. It just doesn't make sense. These calls are so arbitrary. And this was another great point. I've seen the most egregious running into the kicker penalties called over the last 2 or 3 weeks. There was last week against the Patriots, the Vikings-Patriots game. I was watching this game intently because it was pissing me off. The punter for the Vikings was doing a fantastic acting job back there. He had the tip of his toe ran into by one of the Patriots, rushers going at the punter, special teams players, and the dude does like a 360 twirl and flips on the ground, and here comes the flag. That was a huge game-changing call. Suddenly the Patriots aren't getting the ball back because that gives them 5 yards. It's like these calls can't be, if I think it's a call there, then I'm going to call it, based on the referee calling the game. It can't be like that. And that's what the rules they have in place are. If they're running into the kicker, it's a call. It's plain and simple. Unless somebody is flat out pushed into their back and they go flying into him without any control, then if they're running into it's a flag. I mean, and tonight Sam Martin was railed. He didn't have he might have had a platform to land on, but the second his leg hit the ground, his landing foot, he was drilled. And there's no flag. There's no flag. I'm confused. The lack of consistency is worse this year than I feel like it's been in years past. The reffing in the NFL has never been good, but this year, especially as of late, the whether or not the 2 rules that have been confusing me, what a catch is, or why they rule a catch the way they do, and the running into the punter, running to the kicker thing. Those 2 have been brutal this season, brutal so far. Adam, what's going on, man? Nice to see some Chiefs fans in here. I love to see all the different fan bases coming together, even for a Bills game. It's really cool that you guys are stopping in here. I appreciate it. Joey says, yeah, he barely got grazed, made it out to be a yeah, I know that Vikings punter. He put a good sell job on there out there for that call, and it was a big one. It was a big one in that big spot, and those refs do that flag instantly. If Sam Martin goes down like a soccer player in that spot, he probably gets a flag too, but he shouldn't have to. Frustrating. Respect the Bills. Thank you, Adam. I respect the Chiefs too. Pat Mahomes is my undisputed MVP candidate at the moment. But if Josh Allen wants to keep playing the way he did tonight, maybe he'll have a chance to sneak back up on Pat. But for now, Pat's my MVP, and the Chiefs are my AFC favorite, of course, just because of the way they've been dominating. But better be on the lookout. Adam. Adrian says, my prediction for the Super Bowl is the Niners versus the Chiefs, a Super Bowl rematch. As much as I want to sit here and say that the 49ers got what it takes, especially with the roster they have, as much as I want to say it, I just don't know. I still don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is capable. He's shown it to an extent, but the second that Jimmy Garoppolo is put in a spot where he has to do something himself, it's over. I mean, it's over. And we saw it last year against the Rams. He had like a minute and a half to 2 minutes to go down the field and just get in a field goal range in that NFC Championship game, and he couldn't. He couldn't. I mean, you knew the game was over the second they were in a passing, a complete passing situation, and Aaron Donald got in his face, and he was flustered, and there was no chance. They're going to need their defense to play out of their mind if they want to get to that point. And I'm not sure that's going to necessarily happen. I guess we'll see. But the Niners are definitely a team I would be worried about, even just regardless of Jimmy Garoppolo. They are a super, super team. I would define that team as a super team. Joey says I shared it on both my pages, 12-Man Mafia and Josh Allen's Mafia. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that thing's circulating all over the internet, man. That clip is probably everywhere. Mike is asking Adam, got an opinion on Chiefs Bengals? Chiefs Bengals will be a good game. Who do you think will win, Chiefs or Bengals? I did pick the Chiefs, or I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I like Joe Burrow this year. He's had a silently good year. I feel like Joe Burrow is, I wasn't Joe Burrow's biggest fan after last season, but this year he's having a silently good season. He's third in the NFL in total quarterback yards, total quarterback touchdowns. He hasn't had Jamar Chase for the last few weeks. After having a rough start and the team was 0-2 and Joe Burrow didn't look good at the beginning, he's really turned it on. They've won 7 of the last 9. I think they're going to end up winning the AFC North, and I think Joe Burrow deserves a lot of credit. But I just don't think they have, what it takes to take down the Chiefs at this point. That's just, I just lost my train of thought. But yeah, I just don't think the Bengals got it this year. I think it was a miracle that they beat the Chiefs last year to begin with. This year, I think the Chiefs are just on a whole nother level. Patrick Mahomes is on a whole nother level. Chris Jones is playing like the best defensive tackle in the league at the moment, and it's pretty polarizing to watch. Although I think he's a regular season merchant. Dude can't get a sack in the postseason, but this dude is in the backfield of every single quarterback he's played against this season. So I think he's going to give that Bengals offensive line a lot of trouble, and that's something that I think at times they struggled to do last year. So, I think this is going to be a Chiefs victory for sure. Joey, you're talking about the show, man. I appreciate it, dude. Thank you. I thought you meant the play of the punter, but thank you for sharing it, man. I appreciate it, Joey. Yeah, Chiefs have number 1 defense. I don't know if I go that far, Adam. That's a bit of a homer statement. I think the best defense in the league right now would be – I think the best defense is probably the 49ers. I think I give the 49ers the best defensive the number 1 defense crown. But the Chiefs are up there, man. They've the Chiefs have had that good of a year on the defensive side of the ball to pair with what Patrick Mahomes has done. In the AFC, that's fair. The Bills were there, but we're just so injured that it's impossible to play to that level. But fair enough. But going back to the Bills game, let's talk about Josh Allen. Had a good night. Not very active, as far as the explosion, the explosive plays and the big plays, the fireworks, the excitement, the lights, the camera, the action. That wasn't there as much because of the way we ran the ball and established the ground game, but that's fine. Josh Allen still went 22 for 33, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, even though he should have thrown 1. I don't know how that ball was dropped, but yeah, pretty good game. If he's standing behind a decrepit offensive line. I mean, Josh Uche was terrorizing David Quessenberry, man, terrorizing him on the edge. David Uche was just all over the place, and he was giving us fits. He forced a fumble on Josh Allen that was recovered by the Patriots. Josh Allen was trying to escape the pressure as much as he could. He, like I mentioned earlier, he was throwing off platform constantly. He was throwing off platform constantly. It was a tough night for Josh passing the ball. The offensive line in terms of pass blocking had a rough night, but the offensive line in terms of run blocking had a good night. So take the good with the bad. You'd still like to see a little bit more assistance for Josh Allen in terms of the passing game. It was pretty much another night where, if it wasn't Stephon Diggs, then there was pretty much no other help. Josh Allen hit Gabe Davis for that touchdown, but that was pretty much just Josh Allen being a freak of nature. Josh Allen was trying to, throw to his outlets. Dawson Knox had a pretty bad drop. Devin Singletary had a couple dumb drops. Isaiah McKenzie, good for Isaiah McKenzie. He had a pretty good night. I think we were kind of expecting a little bit of a repeat of the last time. Isaiah McKenzie went crazy against the Patriots. I didn't think that was going to happen, but he seems to have a good night every time he plays the Patriots, and that was the case. And if you've been noticing, Isaiah McKenzie is silently starting to get a groove. 5 for 44 tonight. Let's check out McKenzie's stats over the last few games because I think he's slowly becoming more of a factor in this offense. That's something we need. And not even just a big factor, but a reliable one. We don't need another huge factor. We need a reliable factor. That's what we need. That's all. And the reliability with the guys we have right now has been the biggest problem over the last few weeks in this offense. It's been, I think, schematic issues with Ken Dorsey, who I think had a good night, and a reliability issue in terms of execution. The last few games, okay, he didn't do anything. So tonight, Isaiah McKenzie went 5 for 44 against Detroit. He had 6 for 96 against Detroit and a touchdown. He did nothing against the Browns, but he had 4 for 37 against the Vikings. So, over the last few weeks, he's kind of been slowly hitting his stride. So good for McKenzie. We're going to need him to continue. Oh, shoot, man. And I'm not in the chat. Hey, it's my, is this working? StreamYard, hello? StreamYard? Hello. There we go. Adam, thank you for subbing, man. I appreciate it. I really, appreciate you stopping in and taking the time to listen to a Bills, post-game broadcast. And, I'm really happy you're here, dude. Thank you for sticking around. Joey says if the Bills defense was healthy, as a whole, I would say Bills hands down, but that's not the case. Yeah, I mean, the Bills defense is doing exceptional for what they're working with, but unfortunately not at that top level anymore. Chiefs did just sign Melvin Gordon and a nose tackle. The Chiefs signed Melvin Gordon and Bryan Edwards. I was looking for the Bills to sign Bryan Edwards. Not going to lie. I kind of would have liked that. A nice boundary guy, pretty physical receiver. He's shown flashes of some decent burst. I would have liked to see Bryan Edwards on this football team, but he goes to the Chiefs. The Chiefs are picking up any names they could possibly find at this point. If you're a name, the Chiefs are going to grab you. And I like that mentality. I like that mentality a lot. They've done it with Josh Gordon. They did it with Le'Veon Bell. They did it with Kadarius Toney, Melvin Gordon. They're just accumulating names. If it's a low risk, high reward. These guys, if they don't crack your roster, whatever, if they come in and make an impact, hell, you win for free. That's exactly what they're doing with these guys. And that's the type of mindset that I wish Buffalo would adopt a little bit more. If there's a guy out there, go take a chance. They did it with Xavier Rhodes, a beautiful example. We needed help in the secondary. Instead of sticking with what we got, we went out and we got Xavier Rhodes, a guy who's proven himself in the past. Maybe he shows a spark of something and he could be a big help. Low risk, high reward. And what's happening? Xavier Rhodes is starting alongside Tre'Davious White. Low risk, high reward. These are the type of things that I'd like to see us try a little bit more. The Chiefs do it constantly. It's good to see the Bills do it and it pay off. Tom says the Chiefs got lucky with their division massively underachieving and the Chiefs overachieving. The Chiefs. Wow, I thought the AFC West was going to be one of the craziest, divisions we've seen in a very long time. But yeah, I mean, I think the Chiefs are playing well enough to the point where they would have won the division anyway. But they definitely have it a lot easier than I expected them to because of the underachieving rosters that are surrounding them. But still, credit to the Chiefs for what Mahomes specifically for what they've done this year. Adrian says Jets are going to surprise the AFC this year. I think the Jets are. I might not go as far as to say this yet, but I think the Jets will probably miss the playoffs despite the season that they've had. I know they have a relatively not too hard schedule down the stretch here, but I think there are some other AFC teams that are going to start to heat up, and I think the Jets will be left out on the outskirts because Mike White's going to turn out to be inefficient. And, things are just not going to go to plan for the Jets, who I think are quickly becoming one of those teams that are a quarterback away from being contenders in their own division to contenders in their conference to potentially Super Bowl contenders in a couple of years. So they're going to be a problem for the next few years. But this season, I'm not too worried as of right now. Joey says McKenzie has been shy ever since you took that hit where he got a concussion. Said it was the hardest hit he's ever. I remember that. That was a tough hit. But he's really kind of coming into his role now. The last 2 weeks he's had 5 for 44 and last week 6 for 96 and 1. So these last couple of weeks we've been seeing Isaiah McKenzie sightings, and it's very, very nice to see. Mike says I'd rather have John Brown if he has anything left. Yeah, that's fine. I don't know what John Brown's going to provide this football team. I guess we're gonna have to wait and find out. I think he had a few snaps tonight. I'm not sure how much. No, he was actually on the field. I wasn't paying attention, but John Brown if he's got anything left, it's cool to see us bring in a guy that we know has established himself and is familiar with this room. To give him another chance. I'm not sure how old Brian Edwards is in comparison, but I feel like just because Brian Edwards is probably in slightly better playing shape and younger. Brian Edwards is 24 years old. Wow, John Brown's got to be north of 30 at this point, right? John Brown is 32. Yeah. So I mean, for those reasons, I would have maybe preferred to see us go get a Brian Edwards, but familiar face, proven guy on this team before, so I'm not upset at it. Adam says I was in a Raiders fans chat and they were saying FKC. Are you surprised? Are you surprised by that at all? The Raiders did victory laps in their bus when they beat you guys a couple of years ago. I'm not shocked by that whatsoever. Mike says 3 AFC West teams underachieved and 3 AFC East teams overachieved. Yes. Both East divisions across both conferences are overachieving. But hot take. I don't know if you saw it. I posted a YouTube short about it 2 weeks ago now. The Giants will miss the playoffs. I know it seems a little bit more of a possibility because they've dropped the last 2 games, but just hear me out. They're going to lose. They're going to lose this week to the Commanders. The Giants will win at most one more game this season and end up missing out on the postseason. They're not going to finish above 4th in that division after they lose to the Commanders here. Hot take or not, I don't know. But I don't think things are going to end well for them as their tough schedule gets really rocky and that roster's injured. They don't have the talent. That's just where I'm at with that. Quick side note. Does Dawson Knox even play for the team anymore? It's like he's nowhere to be found. Yeah, the Dawson Knox discourse has been interesting this season. It's been interesting for the simple fact that I feel like nobody really talks about it. But now it's starting to gain some traction. Where's Dawson Knox? We gave him that massive extension after he had what seemed to be a breakout year, and now he's gone. I was having this conversation with my boy Justice last night. In your guys' opinion, is Dawson Knox having, whether it's his fault or not, is he having one of the most underwhelming seasons of any Bills player over the last 5 years? I think I could say with relative confidence, just thinking off the top of my head, that Dawson Knox is having one of the most underwhelming seasons for a Bills player over the last 5 years. The dude is nowhere to be found. We were going into this year assuming we can rely on him, assuming he was going to be a big factor for this offense, a safety blanket for Josh Allen, and he is just nowhere. And, whether or not it's his fault has been a conversation that we've been having over the last few weeks. Is it Dawson Knox's fault? I know he lost his brother to some very unfortunate circumstances. It was really sad. I feel, I'm getting goosebumps actually just even thinking about it. Like, the poor guy went through a lot. So I'm sure that has something to do with his play. But, still, I'm sure he's mentally tough. He caught a touchdown a couple weeks after the fact. That was a game winner. He's able to, he's handling it, at least from an outer perspective, right? And now we're getting to a point where he's just not even looked at. Like, he's the guy that Josh Allen, dumps it off to if nothing else is open, if he's open. And he dropped that today. So, where is he? I think it's a Ken Dorsey issue more than a Dawson Knox issue, in my opinion. Raul says, Raul, what's going on, man? I'm sorry that the Patriots had to go down the way they did tonight. But, I like Mac Jones if it makes it any better. But, yeah, he's been pretty underwhelming, but feels like they don't throw him the ball. I feel like that as well. I think Dawson Knox was a guy that saw a lot more designed targets, if you will, than he has this year. I mean, Dawson Knox is simply a guy that they're hoping he gets open if Josh Allen needs him, and that's it. And that's been a massive problem for this year. A massive, massive problem. Mike says, did you see Amazon preview of next Thursday's game? Raiders, Rams? Raiders are winning. Raiders, you guys want another hot take? Raiders might make the playoffs. Call me crazy. I know Adam and his rivalry with Raiders fans might not like that, but I think the Raiders, I'm a big Derek Carr lover. So if you're new around here, I know there's a couple of new faces in this chat right now. I went into this year touting a Derek Carr massive year. Like, I thought Derek Carr was going to throw for 5,000, 30-plus touchdowns. And granted, the pace he's on right now, if he would have started the year on this pace, he would be getting there. But unfortunately, it seems like he started that pace a little bit too late. But he should throw for north of 46 to 4,700. And he can easily near 30 touchdowns the way he's been going. And at that rate, with Josh Jacobs running like the best running back in the NFL, who knows? They don't have the toughest schedule. I don't know if I'll go that far. I don't think their schedule is terribly difficult. I'd have to see. but still, do not talk about my boy Derek Carr like that. Do not talk about Derek Carr. Are you going to stream after the Chiefs versus Bengals game on Sunday? Is that Sunday night? Is Chiefs Bengals Sunday night? Chiefs Bengals. Let me look it up real quick. Chiefs. It's got to be right. Week. What is this? Week 13. Chiefs Bengals week 13. Can I get a time? Stupid internet. Let's just look up NFL schedule. Oh my God. Why the bots? Why the bots? Put user, block user. It is Sunday night. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to. I do sometimes go live after some primetime games that aren't Bills games, but for that one, I'll definitely go live. Like sometimes if they got like the Broncos and the Colts on primetime, like going live after the game, like what am I going to talk about? Like the game was terrible. But a game like the Chiefs and Bengals game, yeah, I can for sure go live after that one to talk about and give my reactions to. That will be a good one to go live after. Mike says, going back in the Dawson Knox conversation, I think they kept Dawson Knox into block a lot tonight. He's not getting his number called in the passing game. Yeah, and it seems like that's been the case a little bit more often than usual. And it just sucks because I don't see him as that kind of guy. He's an athletic freak, man. That's why we drafted him. We drafted him to have he's uber athletic. And he's shown many, many times how good he could be with the ball in his hands. And it's just a matter of getting the ball in his hands. That was half the battle with him throughout his entire career up to this point. Getting the ball in Dawson Knox's hands. How are we going to do it? Will he get the ball? But when he catches the ball, he's a force. He makes sometimes the hardest catches you'd never believe. But other times he drops the easiest. And now he's not even getting the ball. So, yeah, tough. Very tough. So I'm not sure what's really going on with that at the moment. Joey says Josh Allen's grandma passed away. Same day he played 407 yards, 5 touchdowns. Use it for fuel. Don't become a ghost. Yeah, I hear you. I guess everybody takes tragic events differently. But I see where you're coming from. But I think Dawson Knox at this point has definitely battled through that mental state he was probably in, and he's doing his best to do what he can for the football team. I just don't think he's getting the opportunity. That's how I feel. The best thing the Raiders have going for him is Jacobs until we sign this offseason to Buffalo. If we, Joey, man, I don't think I'm gonna want Josh Jacobs signed here. I'm not gonna lie. I think we're better off signing Singletary to a freaking dirt cheap deal because he's a familiar face, and I think he's run well for us. Because Josh Jacobs is going to be asking for north of $12.5 million a year, and I ain't no way in hell we're paying a running back $12.5 million a year. If we pay a running back $12.5 million a year, I will throw something. Mike says, I think Derek Carr gets traded in the offseason. Jets, maybe Colts, Falcons. Interesting. Interesting. I don't know. I think, you trade for Devontae Adams, right? You trade for Devontae Adams because he's, the former college teammate of Derek Carr. So, you trade Derek Carr and Devontae Adams is like, why did I come here? Like, I wasted my time. I came here to win a Super Bowl with him. Like, that was probably the whole premise, right? And he's gone. Like, I think Derek Carr stays in Las Vegas. I know a lot of people are speculating that he gets moved away and he kind of becomes a bridge quarterback, but I'm thinking that he stays with Las Vegas. But on the note of moving quarterbacks, I'll get to that in a second, Mike. Adrian says he just subscribed. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Nice to see some new faces in here, including yourself, and it's really cool. Having all different fan bases to touch on a lot of different conversation. As big of a Bills fan as I am, there's only so much to talk about when it comes to one team. I try to keep my content as diverse as possible, and it's really cool to see all the different fan bases that come together in here, and we're all having good conversation. So thank you. Joey says Dawson Knox with LeBron James with quarterbacks before he got too big and made himself into a tight end. Yeah, that is funny. Mike says poor Al Michaels. He's yet to have a good Thursday night game. Yeah, I think Al Michaels was. His ability kind of Al Michaels, if he was an athlete, plays to the level of his surroundings, right? In an athlete's case, plays to the level of his opponent or plays to the level of his partner. Al Michaels, I think he was relegated to a crew that wasn't necessarily what he was used to, and maybe he was better off being with a more experienced crew. I don't know, but yeah, there have not been very proud moments for Al Michaels this season, unfortunately. Notorious Dick, another new face. How are you, man? I was at the game. It was a blast. A Bills fan in front of me was chill as fuck. Tough loss, but had a good game. So Patriots fan. Another new fan base in here. That's really cool. I'm glad to hear that. We're for the most part, us Bills fans are pretty cool people. Every fan base is a small handful of guys that are assholes. Let's be real. But I think the majority of us are pretty cool, and I've never had a problem with Patriots fans. I think my biggest problem, I sometimes cannot stand Dolphins fans. Dolphins fans can drive me nuts. And there's a couple other fans. I think Dolphins fans drive me nuts for the most part. I think sometimes Jets fans can drive me nuts, but Patriots fans, I mean, I have no reason to not like the Patriots anymore. Tom Brady is who I didn't like while he was with the Patriots, but now he's gone. So what's my gripe with the Patriots? But I'm glad you had a good game, a good time at the game despite it not going your way. So I'm glad that you guys, you had a good time. That's really cool to hear. Adam says, who do you think the best running back in the league is? If we're talking about currently, if you ask me, it depends on the context. If you ask me, who would you take at running back if you were building a team to win a Super Bowl tomorrow? I'm taking Josh Jacobs. Right this second, if I was building a team to win a Super Bowl tomorrow, I'm taking Josh Jacobs. Overall, it's Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is the best running back in the NFL, and I think that's pretty unanimous. But I think, people forget that Derrick Henry's still extremely good at football. People forget that Jonathan Taylor's still in that conversation. People forget that Christian McCaffrey's in that conversation. Saquon Barkley's bounced back. So I think it's Nick Chubb overall, but if you ask me who am I taking to build a Super Bowl winning team tomorrow, give me Josh Jacobs. Honestly, he's running like a freaking fanatic. Was there any update on the Antonio Brown situation today? No. At least as far as I know, the last I saw about the Antonio Brown situation was that he was hunkered down with weapons in his house. So who knows? Patrick is the best quarterback in the league. Yes, I would wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, so I mean, what else can we quickly touch on here? Bills Patriots. I want to get back to this game real quick. Let's talk about the Timothy Stevenson. He's clearly the best running back. Stevenson is a boulder with legs. Ramondre Stevenson is a boulder with legs that can catch a football. And my God, he is good after contact. There were times where Stevenson looked like he should have been tackled for 3 yards less than he ended up getting. And, I'm sitting here watching and my family's getting upset that we're not tackling him. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, it's like, I'm not even mad. Like, Ramondre Stevenson does this to everybody. Like, we're a decent tackling football team for the most part, especially when it comes to bottling top running backs. We bottled up Ramondre as well as we could. It's like this dude is just good at football. I mean, he's going to break tackles. He's done it all year to everybody. So, the dude's a wrecking ball. AB is not on an NFL team, no, and I don't think he is going to be for the rest of his life. But going back to the Bills real quick, I want to talk about the run game that we established. Going back on the point of it was a boring one for sure. We didn't win with the fireworks and fun and excitement that we typically do, but we established the ground game, and this is the second time in the last 3 weeks that we've done that. We did it against the Browns. We ran the ball very well. Granted, their front is terrible. We did it. Tonight, the Patriots have a much better front than the Browns do. And for some reason, the Browns were either negligent to stop the run, or we were just really plowing the way for James Cook and Devin Singletary to move the ball. I mean, James Cook had a night. He led the team in carries, 14 carries for James Cook. 64 yards. He was running with burst, running with confidence. He slipped a couple times, but he looked good. Very active in the passing game as well was James Cook. James Cook had 6 for 41. James Cook was a 100-yard from scrimmage player today. Something to take into account. James Cook was a 100-yard from scrimmage player. Wow, I did not realize that. He had 6 for 41. 10 touchdowns. That would have been, how many fantasy points would that have been? That would have been 6 plus. Dude, James Cook did not have – he had 18 points. 6 plus 4 is 10 or 16 points. I played James Cook in one of my leagues last week, and he did nothing. And, of course, I dropped him this week, and he does everything. That's annoying. But, yeah, James Cook led the team in carries. Looks like he led the team in yards overall, scrimmage yards too. Like, he had a good night. Happy to see him really picking up traction. And, we really rotated the backs well tonight. As much as I like Devin Singletary and I want him to be RB1, if he's, slightly getting touches taken away from James Cook, I much prefer that than him getting touches taken from Zach Moss, right? So, we have a rotation going that I think is actually fitting and fair. They're not giving carries to bums instead of Devin anymore. They're giving carries to guys that actually deserve them because they serve a different purpose than Devin. James Cook has more burst, quicker, hits holes faster. He's shown that he can slip through a couple tackles, playing with more confidence. Zach Moss, he brought one specialty. I'll bowl you over sometimes. And even Devin was better at that than he was. Yeah, he was still garnering carries, but thank God his ass is gone and we don't have to deal with that anymore. But now it's James Cook garnering carries behind him. Ian Hines is seeing more touches, which I liked, even though he really couldn't get anything going. But happy to see that because we're going to need that 1-2 punch to really come into play, as the season progresses, because we can't have Josh Allen doing everything. And tonight he didn't have to do that much. And we were able to come out with a pretty satisfying victory. So definitely a positive. Notorious Nick says, and that Marcus Jones touchdown was crazy. He's a corner. I didn't know he was a corner. I knew he was a return man, but I didn't realize he was a corner. I guess that's what happens when you have Matt Patricia as your offensive coordinator. He runs out of ideas and he starts putting defensive players out there to catch passes. But to his credit, Marcus Jones, I had a masterful tweet. I want to show you guys a tweet I had because I think this deserved a lot more credit than it got. Hold on, let me pull up the tweet that regarding Marcus Jones. Look, it's going to be corny. You might not laugh, but I thought this tweet was brilliant when I tweeted it out. Hold on. And my screen is sharing, right? Yeah, okay. This tweet was awesome. Like, come on, give me credit. This tweet is funny, right? The Bills need something like that. Like, you can't even be mad at Marcus Jones how fast he ran. I mean, DeMar Hamlin took a bad angle and didn't get him. Like, it was weird, but once he had open space, bro was gone. Like, this describes Marcus Jones' touchdown in a nutshell. I thought that was a pretty funny tweet. Follow me on Twitter, by the way. Quick little shameless plug, but I thought that was a funny tweet. But yeah, Marcus Jones, man, he could be a game changer. Matt Patricia didn't do a lot well tonight, but he did that well. So to his credit, he put a guy in a position to be successful, and that's what you're supposed to do as a coach. So I'm happy that I was happy to see something like that. That's pretty cool. First rushing touchdown for Patriots was great. Yeah, I mean it was a very well designed play, and Marcus Jones made it happen. Cook just keeps getting better. Yeah, going back to the run game. Cook had Brian. Yeah, Cook had a fantastic game. Like I said, 100 yards from scrimmage for James Cook, and I feel like I haven't seen anything about that. Granted, I haven't been on social media much after the game because I'm on here. But I thought that James Cook had a great night, and the numbers show it. The touches showed it. The film showed it. So nice to see that. And Devin himself had 51 for nothing. He actually had 2 drops, ironically. But I don't think Devin's losing his job. It's just the fact that we have a dynamic backfield now. We have a guy with burst, quickness, hit a hole when he needs to. If we need to get him to the boundary, or if he needs to hit a hole, take an angle on a safety, he can do that. Devin Singletary, if he's more a short yardage guy, that's fine. I think Devin Singletary is more elusive. I think he's stronger. He might not be as fast, but he provides a different purpose. That's fine. We have a dynamic backfield now. It's just a matter of giving them somewhere to run. And tonight we did. So hopefully we'll be able to build off of this. It seems like you guys liked my tweet. I'm glad that didn't completely flop. But yeah, I'm glad that we really got that going. Mike says Marcus Jones is like 5'8" Swiss Army knife. I really we could use something like that, man. The Bills could use something like that. We went into this offseason like we need more yards after catch. Our yards after catch is terrible. We need to find somebody that can do more yards after catch. What did we do? Not do that. Stephon Diggs is severely underrated after the catch. He's always been great. But we really didn't do much in that category. Isaiah McKenzie, it'd be nice to see more yards after catch from him. But I don't think he follows blocks well. He's not as well, he's not as shifty as you'd like him to be. He's fast, but he's not shifty. Marcus Jones is shifty. There's a big difference between speed. People get this screwed up. People don't realize that speed doesn't necessarily mean good. Tyreek Hill isn't just good because he's fast. Tyreek Hill is good because he's good in bursts, acceleration. He's shifty. He's deceptive. Marcus Jones, not on the same level as Tyreek Hill. Completely different universes, right? But the point is, Marcus Jones is extremely fast, but he's deceptive and he's slippery. Marquise Goodwin is a perfect example. Dude was like an Olympic sprinter or something, and he's Marquise Goodwin. Like it doesn't go hand in hand. And Marcus Jones obviously is making a name for himself. He won the game for them against the Jets on that electrifying punt return. He had the touchdown again tonight. He's making a name. And I really would like to see the Bills get a guy that can just, turn on the Jets and, turn nothing into something. And the Patriots, if they're able to utilize him correctly, yeah, he's a horrible play caller, holds Mac Jones back. We'll touch that in a second. But, if they're able to get the most out of Marcus Jones on any side of the ball, then, good for him. The NFL it's been trending. The NFL has been trending in the direction of positionless players. The Bills drafted a positionless player on defense this offseason, being Terrell Bernard, meaning positionless, meaning he doesn't really play one position. At least he didn't in college. Terrell Bernard was like a linebacker safety hybrid. He can do both. For a Super Bowl roster, there's not much room for guys that are, one dimensional. So you go and get guys that you think can help your team out in many different aspects. Terrell Bernard was supposed to be a guy like that. He's been kind of invisible. Isaiah Simmons for the Cardinals was one of those guys. He's kind of been underwhelming. I guess I'm going off track here, but point being, positionless players are slowly becoming more and more of a thing. And now we have a cornerback who's a punt returner / kick returner taking screens to the house. So, maybe this will be a trend that really starts to pick up. Joey says, how much do you think that hit in the end zone is going to cost Hamlin? I thought that, speaking of a topic to talk about, did you guys think Damar Hamlin deserved to be ejected? I don't think that was an ejection-worthy hit. I think Damar Hamlin was the victim, and I'm going to use victim, of a very, very poor rule, a very, very, very soft rule. I understand Jacoby Myers got hurt. I hope he's all right. But Tom Brady dating back a couple of years, Tom Brady was on a podcast, and he was saying how defensive players are getting penalized for offensive mistakes. And he's saying that if a quarterback throws the ball over the middle of the field and his receiver gets destroyed, and it's illegal, but it's a humongous hit and it looks bad, then the defensive player gets called for it. It's like, that's not the defensive player's fault. The defensive player's job is to break up the pass. And if he does it legally, he doesn't drill him in the face, he doesn't take his head off, then there shouldn't be a flag. This defenseless receiver shit, it's like, I get the whole defenseless receiver argument. Like, you want to protect guys as much as possible. But if Mac Jones is choosing to make that throw over the middle, in between two safeties in that cover two look, like, the window was not big enough. The window was big. The window was there, but it wasn't big enough. Mac Jones doesn't have the arm strength. He fit it in there, to his credit, but that didn't mean the timing wasn't off. The timing was off. Damar Hamlin came in, and he laid a good hit. And this has been an ongoing conversation. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Tom Brady, defenseless players interview. I don't really know what to look up, but yeah, Tom Brady speaking facts. He said, let me see if I can find the exact comment. Share screen. And this is one of the things that have made me, as a Bills fan, like Tom Brady as much as I have over the last couple of years. That might be a cardinal sin to say as a Bills fan, but he said, okay, Brady appeared with his former rivals Peyton Manning on their alternate Monday Night Show. You wonder why they've never been offensive. Actually, is this not what I'm looking for? It might not be. Playing defense, blah, 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 blah. Okay, this actually isn't what I'm looking for. What did he say? Now my computer is going to be absurdly so. Nevertheless, you guys get the point. I'm not going to try and waste our time looking for it. But yeah, see, Notorious says what's so uncalled for. I agree. Yeah, exactly. Like an ejection, like you could throw the flag, fine. Yeah, no way to stop. I mean, he's going over to make a play. Like we gotta recognize that. You're saying was it a hit to the head? I didn't think it was. Let me rewatch. Let's go watch that actually. I didn't think it was a hit to the head. I thought Damar Hamlin was coming over to make a play. And let's see if I can find the hit. Damar Hamlin. Okay, here we go. Let's play this real quick. Let's rewatch this and see if it was. Like he says, I got to head out, but great live stream. Keep them up. Maybe even a live reaction stream for the Chiefs game. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do one. So thank you for stopping in, Mike. You're always showing support, and I appreciate it, dude. So thank you. Have a good night, dude. Let's see. Let's watch this real quick. Let me go to share screen here. The share screen thing in StreamYard is very, very convenient. Let's see. Oh, it's already playing. So Jacoby's coming over the middle. This window is tight, right? I mean, it's a tight window. But obviously DeMar's going to come over the left hand of the screen here. And although the window's open, it doesn't mean it's not going to close fast. Hamlin's already, he's closing the separation quick. Myers comes down with his head. Yeah, I mean, there was head contact. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I guess it's just a tough rule because, Jacoby's coming down with the ball, and where Jacoby comes in with the ball, where DeMar originally is targeting him, is chest to shoulder level. I mean, he's not coming down. He's not, jumping into his head. He's not, intently going for anything head related. When he's closing his distance, it's going for the chest. Like this is an area of a chest level hit. And by the time he makes contact, he even lowers his center of gravity here. He even comes a little bit lower to hit him more in the torso. But Jacoby also, not Jacoby's fault because he's getting tackled by the other safety in this situation, being Jordan Poyer. So he gets kind of bent down. His head comes down. DeMar's head was down trying to make a torso level tackle or a torso level pass breakup. And there's what I would call incidental head contact. That's my completely unbiased opinion. That's the way I look at it. It's just one of those things. Adam, have a good night, dude. I appreciate you stopping in and subbing. Have a good night, dude. Thank you, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought it was a little bit harsh to throw him out of the game for something that I thought was an offensive miscue. I guess in a game like okay, sure. In a game like that, like maybe you don't have to run across the field and close the distance and kill the guy. Of course, I know he's trying to get the pass breakup. It's what he's supposed to do. It's his job. But I guess in a game that seems a little bit out of reach, maybe I know these professional athletes, they go 110 every play. If it were me, and I was playing in the game, who knows what I'm thinking? I'm just a regular pedestrian. These guys are superhuman athletes that play at 110 every play. So I guess I can't expect anything different. But yeah, I mean, Hamlin's shoulder hit his head. But like I said, right? I mean, DeMar goes in low. It's just unfortunate that Poyer was dragging him down and he closed the distance fast. That's just my opinion on it. It was tough. It sounded bad. It looked ugly, and it was ugly. Jacoby unfortunately took a bad hit, but in my opinion, it's one of those things Brady was talking about. It was an offensive miscue that resulted in, a defensive penalty. That's just the way I think about it. And then, like I said, these aren't even words of myself. This is what Tom Brady was saying. I want to see if I can find it. Tom Brady says defenses punished for offense mistakes. Tom Brady. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. Throw the flag, but no disqualification. I'm here with you on that one. That's how I feel about it. Yeah, I get this thinking. I do understand this thinking, but at the same time, I guess I don't understand their thinking either, because they're, especially in DeMar Hamlin's case, DeMar Hamlin's not a starter. DeMar Hamlin's trying to earn a starting job, whether it's with the Bills or somewhere else. He wants to remain a starter. He's going 110 every play. This thinking, I 100% agree with. But at the same time, DeMar Hamlin's a guy trying to earn a spot in this league, a permanent spot, and he's trying to make a name for himself. So, they're going 110% every play, no matter what, and that's how these athletes got to where they are. So as much as I agree with you, we have to look at it from their perspective as well. These guys, especially in DeMar Hamlin's case, he's not an established guy trying to make a name. Yeah, I can see the flag, but why the ejection? I think it just goes hand in hand with the rule. I think if you get called for a hit on a defensive player, then I think it's automatically a disqualification. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me, but here's what Brady said. This is what I was looking for. Holy ads. Is Bleacher Report serious? Buccaneers Tom Brady says refs punish defensive players for offensive mistakes. Tom Brady quarterback says Brady's stance. Let's see. Where is it? It's not also the first time. Where did he say it? I could play the video, I guess, but there's no reason. But this is pretty much the premise of the article. Buccaneers Tom Brady says refs punish defensive players for offensive mistakes. Disservice, the sport caused league level play to drop since his younger days. I feel like the defensive play. Let me find out. Let's see if Notorious says, let's say Duggar did that to Diggs, he would get thrown out of the league. I mean, yeah, I mean, there probably would be a lot more of an uproar because of who he hit. Yeah, probably, but I guess that's just the way things work, you know. Same way if, you know, Tom Brady gets thrown to the ground, you know, in a relatively rough fashion, then you know, Tom Brady's getting that extra call or two than someone else may. Like the whole conversation with athletic quarterbacks not getting roughing the passer penalties, that exists. That totally exists. Quarterbacks that run more, that take more hits, they are less prone to getting roughing the passer flags called for them. A guy like Tom Brady, he's gotten way more roughing the passer calls than he probably has deserved just because of who he is in comparison to a guy like Justin Fields is. That's the way I look at it. You know, I don't know. That's just me. That's just the way I look at it. But you're not wrong in that sense either. Same thing with Diggs. Like all of Bill's Mafia, I mean, you know, the NFL, there probably would have been a lot of uproar if Duggar came in and, you know, drilled Diggs. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. You're definitely right in the sense that there would have been uproar. But, you know, because it's Jacoby Myers and not Diggs, that doesn't make it, you know, any different in, you know, in reality. But that's just the way things work, you know. Brian, thank you for stopping in. Cool pie. I'll catch you again. Thank you, man. I appreciate you for stopping in. Definitely a great conversation that we're having tonight. So I really appreciate you contributing. And you have a good night yourself. Mike says, I just saw the Marcus Jones touchdown again. Man, Hamlin looked bad on that play. I think Hamlin was supposed to be I think he was kind of flying in to be a blitzing defensive back to some capacity, and he didn't anticipate the screen, and he just got beat. He ran in quick. And he came sprinting downhill, and he couldn't really break down to attempt to make the tackle, and that was the result. So once Damar Hamlin missed him, there was nobody catching that speedster, and yeah, he was gone. He says, actually, I thought there was a much dirtier hit on Diggs earlier, and nothing was called. I think it was Jonathan Jones or maybe some other defensive back like kicked Diggs in the head, and nothing came of that. But obviously, it was no harm, no foul. I mean, Diggs didn't even look upset, so maybe he didn't even kick him. It just kind of looked like it from the television view. But yeah, I mean, whatever. Joey says it all started when Juju took that hit a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I mean, the head injuries have been stacked up this year. It's been scary, you know. We saw it with Tua, we saw it with Juju, Nyheim Hines even. You know, he had a stunner earlier in the year. There's been a lot of head injuries this season. It's been a pretty scary year injury-wise. I'm not going to lie. Did Matt Judon get a sack? No, Matt Judon actually did not record a sack. The sacks for the Patriots, I think the Patriots had 2 sacks. The sacks belong to both to Josh Uche. Josh Uche had both sacks. Josh Uche had a night going against piss poor David Questenberry playing on one leg. But yeah, Josh Uche had both sacks. So, you know, Matt Judon's been on a tear this season. Kind of silent defensive player of the year candidate. But no, tonight he did not have a sack. He's kind of not irrelevant. That's not the right word, but non-factor, I guess is the word I would use. It was the Josh Uche night, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Not at all. Not at all a bad thing. But yeah, I think I'm gonna probably wrap it up here. It's 12:40 already, an hour and 10 in. You know, feels like I just hopped on, honestly. We've been flying through great conversation tonight, and I appreciate anybody that stopped in. You know, it's been a great conversation. A lot of new faces too, which is really, really cool. It's what makes this really awesome too, is, building a community and you know, a group of everyone to get together and talk football. It's my favorite part about this, and seeing new people stop in and leave their thoughts is one of my favorite parts about this whole thing. So, if you decided to stop in tonight and you've never seen the channel before, never checked out the content, if you like it, stick around. If you don't, that's fine too. But for anybody that if you stopped in tonight, like I said, thank you very much for doing so. If you have any last comments too, I know Mike just dropped a comment. I could touch on that real quick. I think one of the keys to the game was to keep Judon under control. That also might explain keeping Knox in the block. Yeah, definitely. Judon very easily could have had a night, much larger than Josh Uche if we didn't put a focus on him. But he definitely was contained. Definitely was contained enough for us to get away with what we needed to. I will say some of the calls that game were horrible. Nick, dude, I don't know about you, but I thought you guys got hosed last week against the Vikings. I think last week the Patriots got hosed, like beyond hosed, like beyond hosed. Between the roughing the running into the kicker, penalty, to the Hunter Henry callback, to Mac Jones not getting a face mask called for him. I mean, the Patriots last week got hosed. I thought this week, in comparison, for the Patriots' sake, was far better. Joey, thank you, man. Like, share, and everything. I appreciate it, dude. You always stopping in, Joey. You're always showing support, and I appreciate it, man. Mike, same to you, man. Keep doing it. I look for you again Sunday post game. Definitely going to do Sunday post game. That's going to be a big one, so I'll definitely be hopping on and sharing my thoughts with that one. But like I said, guys, hope you guys have a happy Friday. And they missed the most holding call. But yeah, it's Nick. If you didn't see last week, go watch last week's game for the Patriots and look at the 3 flags that I was just referring to, because that was bad. Yeah, but if you want to catch me again Sunday post game, I will be going live. And yeah, thank you for stopping in, and you guys have a good night. Have a happy Friday. Good weekend. Go Bills.